If you've been here for several years, your mother is really sick, so you need to leave the United States to go see her, and then you try to re-enter, you're probably subject to a permanent bar. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Puyan Darian, an immigration lawyer based out of New York, here to talk to you about Biden's new immigration program. Specifically, I want to discuss who cannot apply for the program. So, as you guys probably already know, there are two major requirements. One, you must have been married to a US citizen on June 17th, 2024. And two, you must have, on that date, been in the US for 10 years. But there are a lot of people who still can't apply for the program, and we're going to be talking about all of those people in this video. One category of people who cannot apply or benefit from the new Biden program are people who are subject to the permanent bar. So whenever someone tells me they've entered the United States multiple times unlawfully, the first thing that I begin to ask questions about is whether they're subject to the permanent bar. I'll try to summarize this, but basically, if you've ever been subject to expedited removal, that means like someone apprehends you at the border and signs an expedited removal order, so you were formally processed and then deported, and then you try to illegally re-enter within a short period of time, you might be subject to the permanent bar. Another way is if an immigration judge actually saw you and then ordered you deported, and then you left and then re-entered too quickly without applying for advance permission to re-enter the US. You are probably subject to the permanent bar. Another situation is people who've entered the US and stayed here for more than a year and then left the US and then re-entered within 10 years without first applying for an unlawful presence waiver. There are a lot of people who did this. For example, if you've been here for several years, your mother is really sick, so you need to leave the United States to go see her, and then you try to re-enter, you're probably subject to a permanent bar. And the only way around it is to spend a long time outside of the United States. I'm not going to go into the specifics in this video, but just know that Biden's new program isn't going to fix permanent bar issues. Now, somewhat related to this are people who have removal orders, but who have not been deported and who have not left the United States. If you have a removal order, but you've only entered the US one time and you've stayed here continuously, you probably don't have a permanent bar issue, but you won't be able to apply for permanent residence until we fix your removal order. I have other videos out on how to do this, but generally speaking, I need to prepare a motion to reopen your case with immigration court. After the case gets reopened, we apply to terminate or dismiss the removal proceedings. And that's generally the procedure for fixing an old removal order. I've done it several times this year, and it is possible in certain situations, but it depends on the exact situation. If you're married to a US citizen and the only thing preventing you from applying for this program is an old removal order, you might be a good candidate for a motion to reopen case. And if that's the case, feel free to contact me and we can get started on that type of case. Now, the next two category of people who are ineligible are those who have made false claims to US citizen and others who have certain significant criminal history. False claim to US citizen can pop up in several different ways. Basically, if you've ever orally or in writing falsely claimed to be a US citizen and you failed to timely retract that claim, that means you didn't immediately fix it or within a reasonable amount of time fix your error, you might be ineligible for future immigration benefits. One place where this comes up is when you accept a new job and they ask you what's your immigration status, US citizen, permanent resident, or other, and you falsely claim to be a US citizen. Another way is when people apply for US passports when they're not eligible. That can be construed or viewed as a false claim to US citizenship. The other thing is people with certain criminal history. We don't know exactly which crimes will render you ineligible for Biden's new parole-in-place program. If we are going to draw parallels to Obama's discretionary program, which he created, the rules back then and currently are you can't have 3 misdemeanors or 1 significant misdemeanor. If you have those or a felony, then you're probably ineligible for this program if it's anything like the old DACA program. The next category of people who are ineligible for this are those who entered the US with visas. So if you've entered with any sort of visa, first of all, you might not need to be paroled in place because you've already entered lawfully. But one specific group that comes to mind are C1 crew member visas. These people are not eligible to adjust status, and they're probably also not eligible for this program because one of the requirements is that you've entered the US without inspection. And the final group of people that we're going to be talking about today are those who are outside of the United States. Some people are outside of the United States because they've applied for 601A unlawful presence waivers, they've left the United States to go to their consulate interview, and they're at the tail end of the process. Hopefully, if everything goes well, they'll be allowed to re-enter as permanent residents. First of all, you can't apply for this from outside of the United States. But also, it might not even be advisable if you could. And you certainly can't trade your interview at the consulate for an interview in the United States. You might want to speak with me or another immigration lawyer if you're going through this or if you're about to leave soon to see what the best option is for you, which one would be the fastest, which one would carry the fewest risks. Alright guys, that brings us to the end of today's video. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments below. If you want to consult with me about this topic or you want to apply for Biden's parole-in-place program, permanent residence, do a family petition, or citizenship, schedule a consultation. I would be happy to meet with you personally or by video. We do consultations throughout the entire United States, and you would be meeting with me directly. If you're new to my channel, be sure to like and subscribe. I put out videos on these and other family-based immigration topics on a weekly basis. We should be putting out another video on Biden's parole-in-place program next week, and I'll see you guys next week for another one.